The book Jesus Freaks is an enormously important book. It should be in every home. I don't care what you think about Christianity, but you should read the stories of people who have survived persecution. It's pretty fascinating. And as I've been working on reading portions of this book, I decided it's time for the timeline. I do this from time to time. It's obvious that World War III has broken out. The world powers are committing a quiet genocide against the human population. It is completely ridiculous that vaccines can be loaded with all kinds of stuff that's harmful to humans and creates weird things. It's just awful. But if you look back towards some of the operations that have gone on secretly, you start to understand. Okay, so the world population is being exterminated. The fires in Australia, the fires in California are not natural. And everyone in the world wearing masks is quite strange. All right, consider this. This is the Roman Julian calendar line, the calendar that we are familiar with using. The entire calendar is based on Jesus of Nazareth's life and around the time he was born. Jesus of Nazareth's life here. Isn't it curious that Muhammad existed 600 years after Messiah? And Buddha, Gautama, existed 600 years before Messiah. Now, study. You have the internet. You need to study. You need to study Muhammad. You need to study Gautama, Buddha. You need to study Septuagint, and you need to study Constantine. Come on, write these down. Muhammad, Gautama, Septuagint, Constantine, and Pax Romana. There was a period of time in the Roman Empire between 27 BC and 180 AD, or I guess we could play the, okay, this is BCE, and this is Common Era, or Anno Domini, the year of our Lord. So 27 BCE to 180 CE is the Pax Romana. From England all the way to Morocco, and all the way from the Atlantic Ocean east to Iraq, there was a time of peace. The Roman powers and soldiers were only being a policing force. There was no enormous war or conflict throughout that entire period. That's called the Pax Romana. Isn't it curious? Isn't it curious? Okay, this blue box represents the Moses Jewish law being in place. The green is the shift into the way of life of Messiah. Okay? You know, from here back, it should extend that way. This should go this way. Dun, 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 dun. This goes back. Okay, so the Moses Jewish law, killing, capital punishment, war, and political regime is part of this structure. Okay, now, Yeshua's way of life, that's the green part. Yeshua's way of life, no killing, no capital punishment, no war, and no political regime in the followers of Jesus of Nazareth, Moshiach, the anointed, the empowered one, the ones who receive the power from on high. Power from on high. That's one of the most important parts of the gift of Jesus of Nazareth. Power from on high. Okay, so around my house, the concept of the gospel, which is a messed up word that is not properly defined, because the gospel is both good news and the gospel is also the stuff that you need to be responsible to and obedient to. So it's a big confusing term that might as well not be used in a sentence, because you need to find out how you're defining what gospel is. Okay, so around our house, the thrilling news is God has come to the human family in human form, and he has called us friends. Let's emphasize that. Friends. He has called us friends. He has called us all friends, and he wants to give us his spirit, which is power from on high. But when he gives you his spirit, there's no more hurting or retaliation against human beings ever anymore. No retaliating. Okay, the Moses Jewish law, killing, capital punishment, war, political regime. The friends of Yeshua and power from on high, power connected with the empowered one, the one that can come back from the dead. Okay, no killing, no capital punishment, no war, no political regime. Now, of course, around them, there's killing and there's political regime and there's war, but those people in the way of life do not engage in killing, do not engage in retaliating against human beings, because the battle has turned into power against spirits. We get power over spirits who afflict humans. Would you like to have power over spirits who afflict humans? All humans are afflicted by spirits. We are. Okay, so, isn't it fascinating that Muhammad is 600 years after and Buddha is 600 years before Jesus? But watch this. What happened in between the enlightened? I mean, it's one thing to be enlightened. If you know the right thing to do, you might not have the power to do it. You might be lazy and not do it. It's better to be empowered, to be both enlightened and empowered, because this is where you have the ability to walk out the truth. All right, so in between Buddha and Yeshua is what? The Septuagint, this amazing, bizarre thing that the God of the universe allowed to happen. Study the Septuagint. The Hebrew scriptures, Moses' law, is translated into Greek, and it's given to the Gentile, non-Jewish world. So by the time Jesus of Nazareth shows up, all the Gentiles can look up the predictions and say, hey, you Jewish guys, hey, you Moses followers, this guy's your Messiah. Look, here's all the predictions. Born in Bethlehem, none of his bones were broken, pierced in his death, sold for 30 pieces of silver, ride on a baby donkey, walk on water, heal people. Oh my gosh, look. Hey, you Jews, the Gentiles can say to the Jews, hey, this is your Messiah. And all of a sudden, the Jews basically primarily reject Messiah, and Messiah goes out to the Gentiles in a large way, with lots of Jews as well. The whole wave starts with Jewishness, but it's a combination of respecting the Moses Jewish law that came before, but now the power of the Spirit and no retaliation and discernment of spirits. This is one of the greatest gifts, is guidance and discernment of spirits, power over spirits who afflict humans. Okay, this is real history that nobody taught me. I had to learn it myself. Study these things. Study Gautama, study Muhammad, study Septuagint, study Constantine. Now, in between Mashiach, okay, so you've got this way of lifetime, right? The green is no killing, no capital punishment in the followers of Yeshua. Of course, not that many people are following Yeshua, but the movement is moving enormously around the world. But then, Constantine, the political regime, takes over the Christ peace, and the kings of Europe change the teachings. The meetings come out of the homes where we can be honest about our junk, and they are moved into large lecture halls, outdoor amphitheaters, and beautiful temples and cathedrals. And it becomes a Jesus information business. But the family needs, the needs of the conscience, are removed. And basically, the power of Messiah is stolen. All that good information of Messiah is stolen by the kings and the politicians. And they're justifying killing, which is wrong. They're justifying political regime, which Jesus says, do not be involved in worldly political regime. I am your king, I'm your president, and you are a little family that shows the families of the world how to act and how to get the spirits away from you that afflict. And you do not become involved with war or political regime. If you wanted to be baptized and you were in the Roman rulership, you knew that you had to renounce your position as president, as congressperson, as a person who had power over life and death. If you wore the purple toga, if you wore the purple, you had power over life. You have power of capital punishment, and you could send a battalion off to war. No political regime, no involvement in disputing borders. In the Garden of Eden, people could travel around without borders. That's part of this dark new world of darkness and death. We do not get engaged in fighting over battles and wars and immigrants and refugees. We do not get involved in that stuff. Not at all. Not emotionally and not personally. Look to the plain folks, the Mennonites and the Amish. A lot of those people were locked up during the world wars because they refused to kill or attack other human beings. This is a part of the history that is hidden in your history books. So I just wanted to give you a quick history tune-up as we're reading this book, Jesus Freaks. And I think I'll segue into this introduction. A message from Tom White, director of The Voice of the Martyrs. I met a man who stood up for Jesus in a meeting and was sent to prison for 14 years. I just attended his 90th birthday party. He has scars on his neck and back, tortured by those who have never encountered the love of God. People that were under dark spirits were beating him. His name is Richard Vermbrand. He speaks 11 languages and was a leader in the underground church in Romania. I suppose he might be the oldest Jesus freak who is still living mentioned in this book. If a Jesus freak is someone who stands up or stands out when God calls, regardless of the circumstances, then Richard is your man. In 1947, this pastor taught Christians to walk backwards in the snow, carrying Bibles into countries that forbid them. When border guards looked down from their towers in the morning, they ran with their police dogs in the wrong direction, following the footsteps. When Russian soldiers invaded his homeland of Romania and there was great fear, Richard had his Christian group meet the Russians with Bibles in their language. God had brought a Russian opportunity. It's an opportunity. They went and greeted them with Bibles. God had brought a Russian opportunity to Romania. The Christians would give Bibles through the train windows to eager Russians before the KGB could stop them. So the Romanians, when the Russian trains are coming into Romania, they're handing Bibles into the windows. Ha ha, that's cool. To be a Jesus freak means you have to walk alone sometimes, not from doing something really weird, but just because you strive to be a godly pilgrim, different from the values of this world. Some people are stuck in the values of this world, claiming to be Jesus followers, and not realizing the mistakes they're making. In prison, Richard made music with the chains on his arms and sang joyful praises to Emmanuel, the God with him. The greatest pressure on the freak who stands up for Jesus is the thought that they are alone, the only one. I have those feelings. That is a lie. When I was on trial in Cuba for the gospel with a machine gun behind me, the prosecutor made fun of me. I told him about Hebrews 12:1, which mentions the cloud of witnesses who are watching us, the cloud of witnesses around us. He was upset when I mentioned the saints and the angels around me. Before trial, I had been placed in special dark, cold cells with no furniture in Cuba, no blanket and no light. Cold air was blowing in from above the door. Everything was taken from me. I began singing hymns and praise choruses. The guards got angry and pounded on the steel door with their fists. I was not destitute and alone. 2 Corinthians 6:10 states that we can have nothing, yet possess everything. We can have nothing, yet possess everything. I fellowshipped with the Creator of everything. The greatest encouragement I can give my fellow Jesus freaks is that you are never alone. Those you will read about in this book are your family. They surround you. Continue to set your light, Jesus Christ, on a hill. Now, as you know, I prefer to spend my time with desperate drug addicts and gangsters who have locked themselves away from their lives and shut themselves down from their devices to live a completely different life reality, because ordinary people are too caught up in their comforts to be desperate enough to really walk the walk. So I dedicate this history study and this challenge to study. When God crashed in on me, I didn't even have an email address. I had to learn this stuff from books, from reading. Now you can just go clickety-click on the internet. So I challenge you to take time and get a notebook and study Muhammad, study Gautama, study the Septuagint, study Constantine and the political regime takeover of Christ's peace, and how the kings of Europe changed the teachings. Torben Sondergaard teaches about some of this stuff quite well. But there are details about day-to-day life and honesty in communion that even he must learn better. So, peace be with you, warriors who have separated yourselves from this world. The powers of this world are exterminating the human race in a secret, quiet way, in multiple ways, weakening the people and causing them to die more quickly through suicide, through abortion, through illnesses, and even through the diseases that come from fear and anxiety. I speak peace to you, my friend, personally, and I challenge you to do better. Pray for the Family Honesty Camp here. We are always looking for people to stand together with us in a frugal, studious atmosphere, learning and going out and caring for others. We're always welcoming people. Family Honesty Camp.